think we have faith. And I always say, they say ask and you shall receive. And I said, that's about faith. It's not about asking and waiting for yourself and waiting not to get it so you can say, see, I knew I wasn't going to get it. Faith is about asking for something, knowing that it's on its way, so you can basically put it out of your mind. You don't have to think about it anymore. You don't have to worry about, oh, is it coming? Am I going to get it? Am I going to get that house? You ask for that. And then that true faith, which is that you can see that in your mind every day. I saw myself as being better every day. And not better as like a better person, but healed, so that I didn't feel badly about myself every day. And that met me. I don't know when or how, but it met me along the path.
You know what, we kind of know that. I think most, if you have some faith, you know that. But Dr. Blackston, when you're at that crossroads, has anybody at a crossroads? You know what I mean when I say crossroads? When you're not sure which way to go, you're trying to figure out, you have a goal, but you don't know how to get there. Somebody says you can't do it, you shouldn't do it. You know, the bill collectors knocking on my door. But knowing what faith is, but what is it? What do you do when you're at that crossroads?
Well, I can very recent memory when I had a stroke. I was in the emergency room, and I was lying there, visualizing myself jogging around my neighborhood, and that was I knew that this wasn't the end. I knew that this wasn't going to. I was going to stay this way. As a matter of fact, by the next morning, I was able. My leg was completely paralyzed. By the next morning, I could lift it up from the bed. And the resident couldn't believe it. I said, watch this. And I picked the leg up and he said, that's amazing. Because he had examined me the day before and there was nothing. No toe wiggles, no nothing. But I just kept seeing it. I kept believing it.
So it starts as a picture.
Yeah.
Picture in your mind, visualization.
And I didn't, wheelchairs and walkers and things like that, I didn't see myself with any of that at all ever. So it's very important that you have to see it. You know, faith is the substance of things not seen, yes. But you gotta act like it's already there. And so, in your mind, nobody else might not be able to see it. I remember when I first started medical school, I learned for the first time my grandfather only had a third grade education. And no one ever knew, never discussed it, but he told me, he said, if I had gone to school, that's what I wanted to be. He had always wanted to be a doctor. And so he just wanted to live long enough to hear them page Dr. Blackston in the hospital. And so that was a real incentive for me to really keep going with this, because that was what he wanted to see.
When you talk about naysayers, what you have to realize about people who usually are naysayers is that what they're trying to pass on to you are their fears. They're not necessarily your fears. And one of the experiences that I had recently was, well, not so recently, but before I got my master's, was that I wanted to get my master's, and I was coaching basketball over at GW. And so I told my boss, I said, you know what, I want to go and I'm going to get my master's. And he looked at me and he said, you know what, well, I can't allow you to do that. And I'm thinking to myself, well, I wasn't exactly asking you. I was just as a courtesy letting you know I was going to get my master's. And he was like, well, I can't allow you to do that. I don't know a head coach, in the nation that would allow one of their top assistants to go to get their master's. So, I called my mom and dad because my mother and father have always been a source of sort of support for me. And my father said to me, well, if your boss says that you can't do it, then you can't do it. And I was like, wow. These are the people that had always told me that I could do anything. And I had, that's, being the youngest especially, that really weighed on me. And, I went home and I was praying and I was like, that just can't be. Nobody should be able to tell me what I can and cannot do in order to improve my life, even if it is your family. Because a lot of times it is your family that are the main ones telling you that you can't do something or that you shouldn't do this. And so, if you had a little bit more time to know me, my relationship with my father is very close. I am his baby girl. I have a granddaughter, and I'm still number one in his eyes. Well, I said to my mom, I said, I'm not going to be able to talk to Dad for the next few weeks because I need to surround myself with people who believe that I can do this. And I'm going to do everything that I can in order to get my master's. And I'm going to let God decide whether or not this is to be. But I'm going to do everything that I can. And so I went and I got an attorney, and the attorney said that there was no way that my boss could keep me from getting my master's as long as it didn't interfere with the way that I could work. So I went back to school, and it wasn't too long after that that I'd gone home. My my relationship had been strained because I thought for the first time in my life he didn't believe in me. And he sat down and he started to cry, and he said, "You know what?" He goes, "I owe you a big apology." He said, "Because I've always believed that you could do anything." He said, "But those were my fears and not yours. Because in my day, if I didn't have a job, then I couldn't support my family. In my day, they wouldn't allow black people to go back to school. So it may not have been a fight worth fighting." He said, "But you're not me." He said, "You have to do the things that you believe in." He says, "I'm very proud of you." But that was one of the toughest points in my life, and even now it's very emotional because I felt like I was going against my father. But it's to tell you that some of your naysayers are probably going to end up being some of the people who are closest to you, and it will be a very emotional battle. But God is the one who will tell you whether or not this is or is not to be. And if you believe in God, then you have to listen to Him, and He will show you the way, and He will let you know if it's not to be, then it's not going to happen. So, again, the naysayers.
Yeah, the naysayers are always, that's the difficult one. I mean, although you had some things with mom and dad maybe initially not being totally supportive initially, but they seem to come around.
Oh, yeah.
They seem to come around.
Oh, after the hard part's over, everybody's like, "Girl, I knew you could do it." Yeah, afterwards.
What do you do, Coach Justin? And what do you do if, like you said, naysayers that are close to you, that you count on, that you love? What do you do if they don't come around? How do you still overcome that obstacle? How do you still keep going?
Well, the thing is that when you have somebody with that negativity around you, if at all possible, steer clear. But if it's somebody that your family member or someone that you have to, kind of interact with, just understand that they speak out of their own experience, and it doesn't mean that they love you any less, and it doesn't mean that they don't care. It's just that from their experience, that, and their fears, their own fears, that's what they were speaking out of, and so you realize that's their experience, and you just take it as. I had an uncle who was my godfather. He never had a positive or nice thing to say about anybody ever. He always, it was always something negative. And I remember when just before I started medical school, we were at a cookout, and he said, "They tell me you're going to be a doctor." And I said, yeah. He said, "Well, I'll never let you put your hands on me." And I said, "Well, that's fine too. I don't have to." But it's really interesting, that was back in 1979, and he just passed away, actually in April, the day after I got out of the hospital, he passed away. And I had just been to visit with him and talk with his doctor, and he was so glad that I could talk with his doctor and get some understanding, because they were having some problems diagnosing what was going on with him. And it really gave him some relief that he had somebody, but I understood this guy never has anything nice to say about anything, and so I understood that's who he was. And I remember one time when he was sick, I went to visit with him, and he was saying to me that he never ever had a job that he liked. Getting out of bed to go to work was always a chore with him, and I thought, my goodness, no wonder he was so negative. He was just miserable all the time. And so you have to understand that the people that are unhappy with themselves, that's negative, because that's what's going to come out. And you understand that, but you don't take it to heart.
The other thing that I want to add to that is that you can't share your pot of gold with everybody. And you have to protect your dreams. And, you do want to share your dreams with people who are positive and who will support you. But when you realize that every time you share a dream with somebody, all that they're coming back with to you is negative, then you have to keep that to yourself, because you don't want that. You don't want your dreams being torn apart, or to have to emotionally fight that every time you share your dreams with somebody. So I had to learn who and who not to share my dreams and my goals with. And it wasn't everybody, because there are people who are going to tear you down just for the sake that they're not happy with their own lives and that they have fears. And when people are close to you, that is emotionally hard to sort of switch back into that positive place, and you don't want to keep going like that. So you have to sort of protect yourself